We still have a long way to go in the NBA season this year, but we've reached a point where enough games have been played to shake things out and analyze the current landscape without anything looking too fluky. Obviously, between now and the end of the season, a lot can definitely change, but it's important to monitor how things are going as things progress, so today we'll be shifting our focus onto the awards races. The battle for the biggest awards in the sport are already heating up, with some familiar faces leading the way in some categories, while in other areas, we're getting some fresh new faces emerging as frontrunners. I'll be going through the Most Improved Player, the Sixth Man of the Year, the Rookie of the Year, the Defensive Player of the Year, and the MVP award, identifying who I believe is leading the way for each one, while also discussing 2 to 3 runner-ups who are not far behind in the running. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. We'll be starting things off with the Most Improved Player, and the leader in the clubhouse so far this year is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA has been a very good player throughout his entire tenure in Oklahoma City, but he never really got the full recognition for it because of the fact that, outside of his first season with the team, they've been tanking at the bottom of the standings. His production was borderline all-star caliber in the past, but this year, there is no denying that he is one of the best guards in the league. He has exploded across the board, averaging a career-high 30.8 points per game, which ranks 4th best in the NBA, and he's doing so while shooting the ball over 50% from the field and dishing out about 6 assists per game. As long as he stays healthy, this award could be his to lose, because he's been carrying this young Thunder team to a point where they look much closer to being able to compete than most give them credit for. Now, as for the runner-ups behind him in this race, we actually have 3 names worth mentioning, being Tyrese Haliburton, Bol Bol, and Lauri Markkanen. Haliburton showed flashes last year of what he was capable of doing, but in his first full season in Indiana now, he's leading the entire league in assists per game, while also scoring about 20 points a night. Lauri Markkanen is performing at a near all-star level too for a Jazz team that started the year incredibly hot, and even though they have cooled off a bit lately, Markkanen is still going, scoring about 22 points per game. Then, Bol Bol has snagged the starting spot in Orlando at center after riding Pine throughout his entire tenure in Denver, and is proving that he's someone who can make a big impact if given the opportunity. Next up is the Sixth Man of the Year award, and the player leading the way early on is Russell Westbrook of the Los Angeles Lakers. Before the season started, there were a ton of question marks surrounding the Lakers regarding what would end up happening with Russell Westbrook, but the way things have played out is actually one of the better case scenarios for them. The idea of bringing Russ off of the bench has been something that was floated out there a while ago, but it was going to come down to Russ buying into that kind of a role, and that's exactly what he's done. He's not only scoring about 14 points per game, but he's also dishing out 8 assists in this reserve role, and he's playing much more free and aggressive than he did last year, running the second unit, being trusted to make plays more often. Now, as for the runner-ups for this award, it's definitely a tight race because Jordan Poole and Malcolm Brogdon are right behind him. Jordan Poole is having a funny season in that he's definitely still been good in his reserve role, but every time that he has filled in as a starter for the team, he's had some of his best games on the season. So despite being in the Sixth Man of the Year race, he's been better as a starter despite playing similar minutes regardless. Malcolm Brogdon, on the other hand, has been an outstanding addition to the Celtics this year, playing as efficient of basketball as it gets. He's putting up about 14 points per game while shooting the ball 51% from the field and 49% from 3, looking as comfortable offensively as he ever has. The next award up is the Rookie of the Year, and the rookie leading the way so far in this awards race is #1 pick Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic. Banchero came into the season as the top dog, expected to produce from day one, but I don't even think his biggest fans could have expected the level of immediate success that he has been having. Rookies typically need some time to adjust to the level of play before ultimately emerging in the second half of their first season, but from day one, Banchero has been scoring at will, looking every bit like a future star in the league. He's scoring about 22 points and grabbing about 7 rebounds per game, while shooting the ball 45% from the field, which is all super solid, and while his three-point shooting does need some work, his ability to get to the basket and score inside with ease makes up for it for the time being. The Magic have clearly nailed the #1 pick this year and now have a true cornerstone to build around. As for the two players also in the running at this point, we have Bennedict Mathurin and Jaden Ivey. Mathurin was actually neck and neck for a lot of the early part of the season with Banchero, but while Banchero has been able to maintain a steady consistency of 20 points per game performances, Mathurin has not topped that mark once in the last 6 games, and his average dropped to about 18 points per game. It's still very good, obviously, and he's proving to be a very big part and a surprisingly good part of the Pacers' outbreak, but not good enough to hold off Banchero for the top spot. Jaden Ivey is probably a tier behind those two in the race, but he's averaging about 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, producing fairly balanced across the board. He looks very good when he gets to attack off the dribble, and he and Cade Cunningham were forming a very formidable backcourt for the future, but unfortunately for Cade, his season is over, so Jaden may get an even bigger role. The next award up is the Defensive Player of the Year, and the leader early on this season is Brook Lopez of the Milwaukee Bucks. Lopez has been an incredibly important anchor in Milwaukee throughout his entire tenure with the team, but obviously with how good Giannis Antetokounmpo has been on both ends, he has typically stolen a lot of the spotlight. Lopez this season is playing the best basketball that he has played on both ends since joining the Bucks, but especially defensively, he looks like he's found the fountain of youth, as he is blockading the basket better than any other big man. Not only is Lopez blocking the most shots per game in the league right now, but the Bucks defense also performs 5.7 points better per 100 possessions, which is a pretty sizable swing when Lopez is on the court. The fact that the Bucks have the second-ranked defense in the league and are neck and neck with the team in first place also doesn't hurt, but analytics aside, anyone who has just watched a Bucks game this year sees that Lopez is on another level. Now, as for the runner-ups, right behind him here, we have Evan Mobley and OG Anunoby. Mobley is truly one of the most versatile defenders in the game today, who can move like very few other players his size can move, allowing him to defend any position seamlessly, which plays a big part in the Cavaliers edging out the Bucks as the top-ranked defensive team in the league. OG Anunoby is the leader in steals this season so far, but his defensive impact also goes way beyond just generating turnovers. He hounds opposing ball handlers and is easily laying claim to the title of best perimeter defender this season. And finally, the last award is of course the biggest award, being the MVP, and the early leader this season is Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. I know I probably sound like a Bucks fan in this video, but I promise you that I'm not. By now, we've all become desensitized to what Giannis does on a night-to-night basis, but the fact remains that it's still incredibly impressive, and this season he remains the best two-way player. He's putting up 31.1 points, which ranks 3rd best in the league in scoring. He's also grabbing about 11 rebounds and dishing out about 5 assists, and even though I picked his teammate as the Defensive Player of the Year frontrunner, he also could be in that mix because he too is performing like his typical swarming self, helping the team rank in the top 2 on defense. The Bucks are currently in 2nd place in the Eastern Conference standings, just a game back of the Celtics, so he's still leading a winning squad, impacting the game in that regard, on top of his elite individual production, and there isn't a box unchecked when looking at what MVP resumes should include. Now, as for the 2 runner-ups just behind him, we have a very tight race, featuring Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic. Tatum is having what has easily been the best year of his career so far, scoring 30 points per game, coming in just behind Giannis in the scoring department. He's taken huge strides as a passer and defender, and he's leading the way for a Celtics team with the best record in the NBA. Luka Doncic is the 2nd leading scorer in the NBA this season, coming in just behind Joel Embiid, but he's doing so while also dishing out about 9 assists and grabbing 9 rebounds a night. The team may only be 500 right now, but Luka has been doing everything in his power to keep them afloat. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think the early favorite for each award should be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.